Hey guys, TheJordude here, and today's Halloween, but instead of going out having some fun with some beautiful people with some respectable costumes, we are instead playing some
Hearthstone! Heroes of Warcraft!
so we could get those juicy end of season ladder points. So to keep things Halloween related, in today's video, the deck we're going to be talking about is Deathrattle Hunter. So I'll be breaking this video down into 3 main sections, which is mulligans, strategies, and matchups. Here's the deck list, by the way. I'll have the deck code in the description down below so you can copy and paste it, because I know y'all like to do that. So for mulligans, it could get a little bit tricky, but to start things off easy, going first or second, you always want to have your Prince Keleseth. It's obviously your most powerful play on turn 2. Against most matchups, you also want to have your Devilsaur Egg. However, if you know you're going against a very aggressive matchup, going first with Devilsaur Egg without any support for it, like Terrascale Stalker or Playdead, could be a little bit sketchy. I would only keep Devilsaur Egg against aggro matchups if I'm going second, because then I could coin it out. Against aggressive matchups as well, you would want to have Candle Shot. However, against matchups where Candle Shot doesn't matter, like against a Shutterwalk Shaman or a Druid, you want to toss away the Candle Shot. Against a deck like Odd Rogue, you want to have your Glutinous Ooze, because it's very good at disrupting their weapon and their hench clan turn. I like to keep tracking when I'm going second, especially if I have something like a Devilsaur Egg or a Terrascale Stalker in my hand, because then I can use the tracking to try to find my combo for my turn 3 power play. So the strategy of this deck is pretty straightforward. In the early turns, what you want to be doing is setting up your Devilsaur Egg, using the Devilsaur Egg's effect repeatedly, using your Terrascale Stalkers or your Playdead. During the mid game, this is where you kind of power spike into the game. That's when you have some kind of big threat, maybe like a Devilsaur or a Witchwood Grizzly, and then you play the Carnivorous Cube on it, and then you use like a Terrascale Stalker or the Playdead, and you just make more big threats. And your board is protected because you have something like the Carnivorous Cube, so that if your opponent tries to use an AoE effect, then more threats are spawned. Cubing a big minion and then using Terrascale Stalker or Playdead is like peanut butter and jam. They're good by themselves, but when you put them together, oh, they complement each other so well. Into the late game, you have your end game finishers such as your Katharina, which could pull out your King Crush or your Witchwood Grizzlies if you start to run out of steam, because the deck does not have any card draw. You have the Deathstalker Rexar to start creating zombies, and that's when you can start grinding out your opponent. So getting into matchups, your best matchup would have to be Odd Warrior. Odd Warrior doesn't have enough removal to deal with your Deathrattle effects, such as your Carnivorous Cubes, and also once you play Deathstalker Rexar, you just have infinite threats in your zombies, and eventually the warrior just can't deal with them all and then they die. Odd Warrior isn't the most popular deck on ladder right now, so the next relevant good matchup would have to be Mulligans Druid. Mulligans Druid, similar to Warrior, has a hard time dealing with the Deathrattle effects, and so once you get a big threat that's cubed and then you like play dead it, then the Druid just falls behind and can't come back. The one thing that Mulligans Druid does have for them is that they have the OTK condition, so you have to be careful that you don't give the Druid too much time. For bad matchups, the deck is weak against more aggressive decks, especially decks that could go wide. So in particular, Zoo Warlock is a hard matchup, Token Druid is also a hard matchup, and I would say even Odd Rogue is a hard matchup. Just these decks are so fast that you don't really have all the time in the world to build up your Deathrattle value, and Hunter doesn't have any kind of AoE effect aside from Rexar, so once they build a wide board, you can't really come back from that, and then they just overwhelm you. So some final words of advice: try to pop off your Deathrattle effects using combinations with your cubes and your Playdeads, Terrascale Stalkers. Try to protect your board from big AoE effects by setting up Deathrattle minions so that they protect themselves from board clears. Also, be afraid of mind control techs in some decks, because a lot of decks right now are running MC techs to swing the board, and they work really effectively against Deathrattle Hunter. Don't be afraid to use your resources such as your Playdeads or your Terrascales on smaller Deathrattle effects such as the mech bombs, because against like aggro decks, you need to just survive in the early game and take it to the late game where you could grind out your opponent. Even against slower matchups, if using your resources to gain tempo is your best play, then you should probably do it. just because in the late game you have so much value. Finally, don't give combo decks such as Mulligans Druid and Shadowwalk Shaman too much time, because the more time you give them, the more time they'll have to just set up their combo and OTK you. Always try to apply pressure against these decks so that they can't make the optimal turns to try to set up their combo. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Go check out my Twitter page and my Instagram page at TheJordude on Twitter and TheJordude on Instagram. Comment down below if you're going to be playing some Deathrattle Hunter and what you enjoy the most about the deck. It is Halloween, guys, so make sure you go out and have some fun. Maybe you could go and death rattle some people. Get it? Because we're playing Deathrattle Hunter and Deathrattle is like shaking them. Actually, I have no idea where I'm going with this, so bye.